Hey guys, John Mooney with the Stock Marketers Podcast. Really excited today to talk to you about a concept that really helped me free up a lot of my time, which I think is really important, because time is like your most valuable asset. And the way you do that is sort of by making others respect your time, and most significantly, by changing the way that they see you. And there are a couple of really specific strategies I want to share with you today to make that happen. And so I'm super pumped to do it, and I will see you guys after the intro.
So the big question is this: how do investors like us, who don't have a PhD in finance or millions to start investing, how do we grow our bank accounts to build real savings and retirements, and yet still have the time to do what we really love? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answer.
Awesome. All right. So this podcast, these are habits that I've had for years now. But what made me think about this was today. I just came out of this meeting with my buddy Muhammad. He's working with me at Monerads, and he's doing a lot of the coding, a lot of development. He's freaking coolest thing ever. And as we're working on these blockchain software apps, like sometimes he wants me to come in and check on the progress, check on the work, and see what's going on. And so we go over, meet today. And I leave today, and he's like, hey, there are these 3 or 4 things that we changed or shifted or had to do together tonight, just real quick things to get done. And he's like, hey, let's, call tonight, and I'll share my screen with you, and I'll update you on everything, and we'll keep it flowing, keep everything moving, and sign a client in the next couple of weeks, which is super exciting. And I'm like, okay, cool, sounds like a plan. My bedtime is 8 o'clock, and I go to bed at 8, is what I said. And for me, going to bed at 8, you guys know, from this point, it is so crazy, because you wake up at 4 and then you get all this time to do whatever you want and have so much productivity. It's amazing. And it also really helps your body to go to bed at the same time every night, and then you get a set amount of sleep, and you aren't sleeping in, you get fixed energy. I cannot tell you guys how insanely cool it is to go to bed at 8 every single day without failure. It's just so much time, so much energy, so much freedom, and it's just amazing. And productivity, the growth, the output just skyrockets. And so that's one thing that I want to talk to you guys about today. And it's having a bedtime, right? You tell people, look, I respect my time greatly. I'm going to go to bed at this time, and you have to respect that time, because if you don't, I'm not going to talk to you after that. I'm going to be asleep. And that's sort of the first key, is setting a bedtime. And when you set a bedtime, what it does is it puts a hard cap on your time, and it makes it not only seem like a scarce resource, which it's not. A lot of people have that misconception. They think time is limited, when in reality, every single day you get a whole new, time bank account with 24 hours in it or whatever. And so time is an abundant resource. But it's also your most valuable one, right? And so one really amazing way to protect it is to only stay up past a certain time, bedtime, for really important social events, or something that you really passionate about, you really care about, and you have a hard cap. You say, look, when I was writing the book, or if I'm coding something or whatever, I must stop work and go to sleep at 8 o'clock, and usually a little bit before that to journal and meditate and stuff like that. And so that's a really big shift, because now it's not I'm going to stay up all night and wreck the next day and then screw over everybody else that I was supposed to talk to by staying up all night. Because staying up, it's just a bad thing to do, right? And so when you have a set bedtime, it creates well-established, respected time. And it also makes others respect time, because they're like, okay, cool, he respects his time. Now the second thing, this is a little bit this one's, it's just huge. It's going into your settings and turning off notifications for text messages and for social media. For me, this was one of the biggest things. I know a lot of people I grew up with, they would grow up around social media, and I know so many people, they're way into social media. I'm sort of I don't know, I don't really like social media that much. But I'll post stuff on there for you guys. And they'll have Snapchat or something, right? And every single time they get a notification, they instantly look at their phone, get that dopamine hit, and try to just check it immediately. And when they do that, the first thing they're doing is they're training other people that they respond immediately, that they text back immediately, and they're training other people to think that they have a direct line of access into your life. Yes, that's good. If someone wants to call you and you want to talk, they want to talk, pick up the phone, whatever. But you shouldn't have to look at your phone every 10 seconds to stay updated with whatever's going on. If you respect your time, then you should have chunks of time that you block out and dedicate to certain tasks or certain personal ambitions or family or whatever. And you don't want to have interruptions can destroy mood, they can destroy an atmosphere, they can destroy work. You can get super distracted from what you're doing, and then actually crush productivity if you're constantly getting dings or notifications for texts or post or something. Like, that doesn't matter. What matters is what you decide to dedicate your time to. And so instead of being constantly bombarded with distractions, the goal is to check your social media or text or whatever twice a day, once in the morning and once at night, or whatever pattern works for you. But do it on a set, disciplined schedule instead of just an at-the-moment glance. And what this does is so powerful, because people will no longer expect you to read their text instantly and do whatever they say instantly. And instead, you'll say, oh, sorry, I missed your message. And for the first couple of weeks, it might be difficult. But after like a week, like, people get used to it and they realize, oh, okay, I've got to wait 5 hours for him to respond to me, or for her to respond to me, and I can't expect something immediately. And what it does is it stops other people from dumping their problems on you, and it lets you focus on your own work. And people like are constantly looking for like immediate satisfaction or immediate gratification, or they don't want to do the work by themselves. And because of that, they'll like text somebody like, hey, what'd you get on this homework problem? Or hey, how do you do this? Or whatever, right? And if you're always responding immediately, you're going to be the first person they texted, because they get that immediate gratification. They get that dopamine hit of getting a reply. And when you delay that, what it does is it alienates people that don't really care that much about you. And it stops. I remember I did this, I used to like always have like streaks on Snapchat or whatever. And I stopped doing that. And I stopped always like instantly replying to people. I turned off notifications. And I focused on what actually mattered in my life. And what happened was so crazy. Like, 80% of the people that were constantly sending me messages just stopped, and because their messages were like totally useless, no value, or they were like asking me to do things for them that like I would do to like be a nice friend, but like it was like totally worthless, and it was kind of like a waste of time in most situations. It was like dumb stuff that they just were too lazy to do on their own. And what happened is all of that disappeared when I wasn't there to just ponder them or instantly respond, and instead the 20% of messages that remained, or whatever it was, they were the actual friends. They contain, the actual value, the quality connections, the real relationship assets, and the actual, happiness came from the people that continued not seeking immediate gratification or an immediate response, but instead just a genuine communication. And so that's like the second like huge thing you can do to make others respect time. Because when you won't respond, when you like think about it like this, okay? Like, if you text Bill Gates, are you going to expect him to respond, like, immediately? Like, no. Like, you're going to expect to wait, like, 30 or 40 or infinite hours until you get a response. And so, you don't want to position yourself as somebody who's just, like, constantly looking at their phone or waiting for a message or something, or desperate for business. Like, you want to have well-respected time. And the way you do that is by establishing a buffer between yourself and others. I mean, this is... it's just like, waiting to reply. You're not even waiting. I mean, you just have a disciplined schedule. You check once or twice, and that's it. You don't... There's this difference, and we talked about this in an earlier podcast, the idea of being proactive versus reactive. When you have constant notifications of whatever's going on, like, you're being reactive, and your time decreases in value the more reactive you are. But the more proactive you are, you check your text once a day, that's proactive, right? You're proactively protecting your time and doing what matters most to you. And as soon as you do that, the value of your time geometrically skyrockets. It's a hockey stick. And so that's really the big shift, is to have like protections of your time. And for some people, if you have a family, right, like, you might say, look, I stop work. I know there's like that I think she's like the chief financial officer or something at Facebook, and she says at 5 o'clock every single day, she stops everything she's doing, says, I'm done, walks out of her office no matter what. She's in the middle of a client meeting. If the clock hits 5, she walks out. She's in the middle of a test or something. She walks out at 5. If it hits 5 o'clock, she leaves. She goes home, and she spends time with her kids for the rest of the night. And, like, it's whatever you're passionate about. You have to have set, disciplined schedules for your time and be extraordinarily protective of your time. Now, for the first week of this lady walking out of her job at 5 o'clock, do you think other people got pissed? Of course they did. But after a week of it, they're like, oh, that's just the lady who walks out of her job at 5 o'clock, I guess. And I guess that's just the lady who leaves. Like, that's just what she does. And this same kind of mentality, this same kind of like automatic, that's who she is, that's who they are, that's who he is response, is exactly what happened to me. Like, years and years ago, when I started to go to bed at 8 o'clock, I'd say within like a month of starting to do that and having, like doing it every single night without fail, that's when people started to just say, oh, we can't go there, we can't watch that movie or do whatever, because John goes to bed at 8 o'clock, whatever, right? And people would just like know that like I go to bed at 8 o'clock. And because of that, they respect my time. And it just adds an insane amount of value because now you can focus on what you really care about in the morning. You can focus on what you really want to do. And it just creates so much value by sort of pulling you away from the masses, pulling you away from, what others want you to do, so you can focus on what you want to do. So that's the message for today. Really, really powerful kind of way to shift how others perceive you, especially in the marketplace, but really with any kind of career. It all comes down to putting more value on your time. And the way you do that is by putting constrictions on it, by limiting how you use it and budgeting it out in the way that you want to. A really great strategy that I use about a year ago for 2 months, what I did every single day, and I wanted to sort of increase my productivity, increase the amount of time I spent, doing what I love with family, whatever. And so every single day for 2 months, what I would do at the end of the day is I would tally up like how much time I spent sleeping, how much time I spent eating, how much time I spent working out, how much time I spent at the time I was in high school, right? So how much time I spent in school, how much time I spent on homework, how much time I spent working, how much time I spent trading stock. Like every single major productive thing that I did in my life, driving, everything that I did, I tallied up how much time I spent doing that at the end of the day, and just did I made an Excel spreadsheet, and all I did was I put columns on the top, and the columns were the 10 or 15 things that I did most throughout the day that were the most valuable to me. And then on the left it was just whatever day it was, and I would write down the day, and then I would write down how much time I spent in each column, and then I would total it up at the end. And my goal at the end of every single day was to have my number of productive hours at 23 or 23 and a half or more. And was as soon as you make that shift and you change, not from doing what others want, but by proactively planning your day. And it's not like you have to be working for 24 hours a day, right? Obviously there's sleep or whatever, and there's food and there's eating and whatever. There's social situations, but it's deliberately planning what you do. So I would have not planning, but deliberately accounting for what you do. So there's columns for social situations, there's columns for going out with friends, there's columns for spending time with family. But the goal is to just minimize the amount of time you spend doing nothing, right? Because unless you're meditating or you want to do nothing, for me the objective and the priority is to just keep moving forward, keep having that momentum, keep making that progress in any aspect of my life, and just not be doing nothing. Because when you're standing still and you're doing nothing and you're having no progress, for me that feels like failure. And so that's sort of a cool little the third thing you can do. You turn off notifications for social media, for messages, for texts or whatever, and then you set a hard bedtime, and then obviously, however many hours of sleep that you need. For me, I bet 8 hours of sleep, so I'll wake up at 4. And then last part is just look at, a daily journal is a really, really great way to do this, which is why I, made the daily journal, on Amazon or whatever. You guys have been around my books. It's my second book, is that daily journal. But set up an Excel spreadsheet and track sort of where your time is going, just to understand where you're at as a benchmark. And then once you understand where you are, you can use a tool like a daily journal to actually, improve your results or get more of what you want by having daily goals and by having an hour by hour plan for whatever you do the next day and doing that the night before. It's a really, really, really powerful tool. So yeah, definitely would recommend those three things. And if you want to get a daily journal, it's just on Amazon. Just look up Daily Journal John Wooten. And yeah, so cool stuff, guys. I hope you get a ton of value out of this podcast. Go out there, apply it, absolutely crush it. And I will see you guys in the next episode. Thank you. Bye.
Want more stock market secrets? If so, you can get your free copy of my best-selling book, 9 to Noon. You get your free copy plus $11,176 of unannounced bonuses it took me years to uncover, completely for free at 9tonoonsecrets.com. Inside 9 to Noon, you'll find the top 38 secrets you can use to double your portfolio every 2 years and make upwards of 10% daily.